I'm now going to introduce you to some new ways to clean up your geometry. So something that I've already brought up in the past is when you go to extrude, if you accidentally hit the extrude button twice, you can get geometry that's left behind. Now you already have a couple of ways to resolve this. One is to grab an edge, bring it out. So I can bring this edge out, backspace, and then making sure to delete those vertices that are there. And that'll clean it up, so when I go back to face you can see that that's not there anymore. The other way that I want to introduce you to right now, so I'm stepping back to where I still have the face inside of there, is to actually do a merge. So what merge does, if I come to edit mesh, merge, is that it will look for a specific distance. So right here it gives you the distance threshold, and it says any vertices that were within this radius of each other will just basically combine. And so with that low merge threshold, because those vertices are right on top of each other, it'll combine. And now if I go to face, you'll notice that everything's cleaned up. I grab a vertice and try and move it around, and it's all taken care of. Now you need to be careful with this, because if you don't have the right threshold, it can create problems. In particular, when I've worked on characters before and I'm combining two halves of the character or something else, the fingers will oftentimes merge together. So I'll have these fingers that are now stuck together, and so you need to be very careful of that threshold. But if I go to edit mesh merge, I can show this a little bit more clearly. If I change that to 2, you see how that section combined. If I increase it to 3, it does even more. And so you want to lower that threshold down to a point where it will actually be effective for what you're trying to do. So when I do the 0, 0, 1, it will only grab vertices that are right on top of each other. So that's another way of dealing with this. Yet another way to deal with this, I'm going to actually step clear back before I did all this, is cases, and I have this happen quite often, where I will have students that somehow or another end up clicking the extrude a lot of different times, and when they finally pull it out, it looks like there's just one row of faces there. So if I grab these edges and start pulling it out, so I'll actually scoot that back and plan on removing that. But you can see that there's all of these other faces and edges in here that can be very, very, very problematic. In those cases, one of the best things you can do is either merge or simply remove all of the information that's here. So if I come in and I find there's all that information and junk, I want to just clean up some of it. So I don't want to just delete these, because what'll happen is if I grab that edge and pull out now, you'll see that it's now separated. Yet again, that's where merge can fix things. And the cool thing about merge, so let me actually go back to that first and then I'll move on. The cool thing about the merge is that it will take those vertices, combine them, and then the edges in between the vertices that are merged, as long as there's not like an extra vertice somewhere in the middle that prevents it, it will actually seal up those edges as well. So I can go edit mesh, once again make sure I'm in object mode, edit mesh, merge, make sure that threshold's where I would need it to be. And so now if I select by face, that's resolved. But another way to resolve it is using the tools that you've just learned. So if I come in here, I delete these faces, I can then use either the append to polygon tool, so I can append across, or I can select these edges and bridge. And so that way I can make sure that my geometry is clean and that all the edges are sealed.